Hi everyone, Queeveen here from the comfort of my kitchen. In today's video, we are going to be looking at the sky for mid and late May. Looking at the daytime sky here, we can already see the moon is getting close to new, and we will have our new moon on the 16th. With the moon out of the sky for most of the night, even with the moon here, we'll really only see it close to morning time. So for most of the evening, the sky is going to be plenty dark. We will also take a look at the superior conjunction of Uranus. Just before we do, we will leave the sun set. We still have Venus and Jupiter coming out in the evening. We can see that Venus, despite the tree about to get in the way, Venus is pretty high when it emerges, and it's nice and bright, easy to see by just coming up to 10 o'clock. Quarter to 10, definitely Venus and Jupiter will both be visible, and not much else. We are getting back into summertime, especially as we push later in May, so that's going to keep the sky brighter for longer. Just as we come into darkness, I would like to thank everyone who has subscribed to this YouTube channel. I am now up to 700 subscribers, and that is all thanks to you. If you enjoy watching my videos, then please do subscribe if you haven't. And anyone who does enjoy my videos, I would really appreciate if people could share them. My reach on YouTube isn't particularly big, but if you know of any communities or friends that might enjoy my videos, please do share my videos to them. Here is our nighttime sky for mid-May. Once the sky is truly dark here, at pretty much 11 o'clock. We still have Virgo in the middle of the sky, we still have Leo. Not too much has changed from the beginning of the month, but as we move towards the end of the month, well, you can see that the sky is noticeably bright here now at 11 o'clock. We'll come back to the night of the full moon, because we will have our second full moon, our blue moon, once we get to the end of May. We can see the sky now is actually getting dark at quarter to midnight. This is UTC +1, so our quarter to midnight is really quarter to 11 UTC, and our local midnight will be at about 1 o'clock. So if we push forward to that local midnight, we can see that Scorpius is already up, Leo is already heading over to the west. If we remain at the same time and come back a little bit closer to today, we can see that Scorpius is just barely coming up. Leo is much more visible. Because the sun is setting earlier and earlier as we come through May, while we also continue to move around the sun, it can make the sky seem like it's changing faster over the course of the summer. This is really just our sky getting dark later, which means the Earth has more time to turn and move around the sun before we get to see darkness again, before we get to see the stars. So that's an effect we're going to have in the northern hemisphere as we continue pushing into summer. Of course, in the southern hemisphere, the effect would be reversed. Their extra changeable sky would come a little bit later. While we are now on the moonless night of the 16th, this is going to be, of course, a short night. We're getting into summertime, but it is a moonless night. So once the sky gets completely dark, it will be truly completely dark. And again, here we are at 11:30, 20 to 12, and we're just losing that sunset glow, not even losing it entirely. There's still a little bit there. We'll have to push even closer to midnight for that glow to vanish entirely, and once we get into June and July, that glow will no longer vanish entirely. That glow will stay with us all night long in just a couple of months' time. If you do manage to get out into the countryside this time of the month, here we are on the 16th of May, that's going to be one of the best times to head out to the countryside due to the lack of the moon. In keeping with a trend of me discussing dark skies on this channel, we're not going to go all the way to a pristine #1 sky. We'll go as far as a Bartle Class 2 sky, which is just enough for bits of the Milky Way to be visible. We're seeing most of the stars in the sky. It's not perfect, but perfect is often the enemy of good. If you can't find a perfect, pristine, dark sky to take a look at these things, a reasonably dark sky is good enough. As long as you get away from the city lights, as long as you go somewhere a little bit darker, you'll get to see a little bit more. Of course, if you go somewhere a lot darker, you'll get to see a lot more. But the glow of the Milky Way is here up at just about our just about our physical midnight, coming up to our physical midnight at a little after 1 o'clock. So just after midnight, the Milky Way is getting into the sky. Summertime is technically the best time to see the glow of our galaxy because it's going to rise closer and closer to midnight as we get closer and closer to midsummer. But of course, the nights are so short, and eventually we will have some light in our sky all night long. So May is one of the best times to go and look for the glow of the Milky Way. It's up reasonably early, and the glow in our sky hasn't breached all the way through to nighttime. Of course, just after summer, there is a similar effect, but the Milky Way will be further to the west, making it closer to the glow of sunset and keeping it in the sky for a shorter length of time, even though the nights will be getting longer. While we're here looking at, well, close to midnight, we'll come back a little bit, that will bring some light into our sky, but we're looking at the opposite side of the sky. Just a quick reminder that here, Spica, which you can find by following the arc of the plough to Arcturus and spiking onto Spica. Spica is in the constellation of Virgo, and just over here we've got the much easier to recognize shape of Leo. There's a wonderful collection of galaxies just between those two constellations as you move from Leo into Virgo. If we take a closer look around here, we'll start to see some fuzzy shapes. There we go. And once you start seeing those fuzzy shapes, taking a closer look is what will reveal them to be galaxies. Very often, good binoculars is enough to show that there are fuzzy shapes, but a telescope, of course, will be necessary to recognize them as galaxies. The glow of the sun is back here in the north, so it's very close to the Andromeda galaxy, which is going to make Andromeda a little bit harder to see as we come through summertime. However, the galaxies that are near the handle of the plough or the Big Dipper, they're pretty much up in the zenith at this time of the night, at this time of the year, which means you're looking through the least amount of atmosphere to see them, and the sky is going to be nice and dark. That's going to improve your view as well. So this time of year, when the sky is actually dark and the moon is out of the way, it is one of the best times to go looking for things in the sky, especially if we get a clear sky, especially if it's not cloudy. And thankfully, the weather hasn't been too bad lately, so hopefully we will have some clear skies. But now we're going to take a look at something that clear skies will not reveal. We're going to look at the superior conjunction of Uranus with the Sun. So here's the Sun, here's Uranus. We'll need to move forward to the 22nd, and that is Uranus just about to line up with the Sun. And I believe we took a look at some of these conjunctions recently. Yep. This is a proper solar conjunction, a syzygy of the Earth, the Sun, and Uranus. They totally, completely line up. Superior conjunctions can happen to any planet. Inferior conjunctions can only happen with planets that are closer to the Sun. So Uranus, being further from the Sun than we are, it will line up with us and the Sun, with the Sun in between us, and it will line up with us and the Sun behind us when it comes around to opposition. Opposition is the best time to see these planets. Conjunction, superior conjunction, is the worst because you can't see them. The Sun is in the way. And even with imperfect conjunctions, where the planet is below or above the Sun from our perspective, it's still far too close to the Sun for us to see. Of course, there have been a lot of detailed observations of the Sun recently. There are a lot of solar flares at the moment, and there is a lot of excitement, a lot of warranted excitement about solar flares, the aurorae, and that means there are telescopes pointing at the Sun. Of course, there always is. There are telescopes that study the Sun, that look for things happening in its atmosphere to help us better understand the Sun. Those satellites are going to catch Uranus as it moves behind the Sun, as it gets occulted, and then a little bit later, a couple of hours later, when it pops out the other side. So Uranus, of course, is orbiting the Sun, but it's moving incredibly slowly. Its year is almost 100 Earth years, 84 Earth years for it to orbit the Sun. So its motion through the sky it's mostly down to us moving around the sun. We're moving around the sun so much faster. Uranus's position appears to change because of our position changing. So that's why it seems to slowly move out the other side of the sun there. It would be a very different thing with faster moving planets like Mercury and Venus. But of course, if you'd like to know a little bit more about solar conjunctions, we took a look at the solar conjunction of Saturn just a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago. So that's there for you to check out. But of course, that's not something that we actually get to see. Thankfully, we do get to see the glow of the Milky Way as long as we're in the countryside, and other faint objects on the 16th thanks to the new moon. So I hope that you get a chance to see some of these interesting things, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy this video, please do like it, please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and if you know of anyone who might enjoy this video, please share it with them. I do also have a website, queebeanscontent.ie, where you can read this information if you'd prefer. Most importantly, thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you back here next time.